All righty, it is that time again. You are back with Seminoles Sideline 365. As always, I am KB, and to my right or left, I can't determine which way you're going to be looking on people's screens. With me is the old man, aka Bruce, who looks like he's got that evil smile on his face. I don't know what we're going to be discussing tonight. Oh, we do. We have an outline, but I don't know what he's going to be saying, which scares me a little bit. But as always, if you like what we do, we appreciate you coming by. Every thumbs up on this video is appreciated. Leave your comments. We love, big thing about our show is we want your comments. We want your questions. So as we're going through tonight's conversation, please be sure to leave your comments and we'll get to those as we can. And if you have those, you can be sure to email us at seminolesideline@gmail.com. It's pretty easy, seminolesideline@gmail.com. We check that inbox regularly. So if you have comments for the team, you can go there, as well as on Twitter. You can follow us at Seminoles SL365. That's Seminoles SL365 on Twitter. And the old man is very active on Twitter. So if you want to get in arguments with him, if you want to send him a DM, if you want to, like I said, you can get in a lot of arguments with him if you'd like to. He's on there a lot. He's got a lot of free time on his hands. So get on Twitter, interact with him, and sometimes I have to delete some of his tweets because they're inappropriate. But yeah, so be sure to follow us, and you can get in some conversations with him. It'll be interesting. But old man, how's it going? How's the week been going?
Well, I need to ask you. I mean, you were quite depressed, as many of our record-setting viewership showed on Saturday night. I mean, that was a late show. That was a tough one. I didn't think you were going to make it through. I thought you weren't going to do the show, KB. You're still drinking. You're still
that's the thing. I don't drink during the games anymore, and I think that's why I get so angry. Like I'm not like chilled out.
You were a hot mess. I mean, you were like didn't want to do the show. But you're a professional. KB, you're a professional.
I really didn't want to do this show that night, and I think a lot of people were looking for a place to vent their frustrations or listen to other people vent their frustrations, and I think we did that. Like I said, I felt that was a waste of 3.5 hours the way that game ended.
Yeah, well, you asked me how I'm doing. I'm doing good actually. Yeah. I'm doing good. I'm glad you're doing well. You seem up-spirited because we got another big game. I mean, they don't go away, but it was a tough loss on Saturday night. I know we're going to get into that and wrap that up a little bit here. Put it in the garbage, Yeah. That was a tough loss. That was a game that we could have won. I mean, that's a game we should have won. We gave the game. I I don't like that theme, gave the game away, gave the game back. But because another team beats you, they beat you any way they could beat you. And in this case, as we get into it, we might as well get into it, right? We're jumping into it now, right?
Yeah.
You want to jump into it now?
Yeah. I mean, I don't like to look back too often, at the games because I like to move on, have a clean slate. I've already started. Sorry.
Will you admit that I'll say it. We both picked Florida State to lose the game. I mean, we picked them to lose the game, but not in the way they did. Now, let me clarify that. And I said this Saturday night. We want Florida State to win.
Yeah.
We're Seminoles, true to the heart. Okay, true to the heart. Yeah. Let's make sure that's clear. But in our analysis, which that's the product we tend to put out from a fan perspective, they cleared the points. They covered the points. You know that, right? They covered the points.
Yeah, I could care less.
Not that matters. We're not into that. But not that it matters. But it was how they lost, I think, that was very disturbing. So we're not proud of picking that, but that's what we do. But
I think it's the thing is that we predicted – we picked a Florida State loss in that game, but I don't think it's the way we lost. Is that we didn't predict the way we lost. I didn't see it that way. I thought we would lose because our defense would be the ones that couldn't put it together. and it was directly the opposite. We contained NC State's offense. We knocked the quarterback out of the game, but it was just our offense could never really get it going for 4 quarters. We had one quarter that looked brilliant, and then for 3 other quarters, just could not become in sync. Bad turnovers, ineffective running game, not consistent, not be able to possess the ball for longer than 2 or 3 minutes at a time, putting our defense in terrible field position where they're starting on their own 40 and able to drive the ball. We're lucky, that they didn't put more points on the board on us. If not for knocking out the quarterback, it could have gotten worse potentially. But I think, like you said, like we predicted a loss, but we didn't lose the way that I don't think either of us expected to. Like that's the thing, because we actually had a chance. We played better than I expected for defensively, but our offense didn't show up.
What would be your 5 takeaways from this game? That you take away from this game that has to be kind of cleaned up moving forward, because we got another half of the season to go here.
My first one. Do you want me to just throw out my 5, or do you go back?
No, you can go. Yeah, go for your 5. Go for your 5.
My first one would be run blocking is becoming an issue. I think that is one of the biggest takeaway over the past 2 weeks. Florida State has not been able to effectively establish a run game to what we saw earlier in the season. And you could say, well, there's been a rise in competition, which is absolutely true. The competition level has gone up a notch. There's no denying that. But I think over the past couple of weeks, it seems like, specifically in run blocking, Florida State has not been able to effectively set up holes. It's not consistent. It's not consistent. I think it's the better word. We are breaking off. Florida State is this big play offense right now, right? They rank, I think, first or second in big plays of 20 plus or more yards. But we're not able to consistently in the last couple of weeks run the ball to get the first down, run the ball to get 1st and 5, 1st and 4. We're having to churn out 2, 3 yards. Or it was Trayshawn Ward's, who sadly, it looks like had to have surgery, but he would have to break 2 or 3 tackles. Trey Benson had to break 2 or 3 tackles. Joe Philly had to break 2 or 3 tackles. We aren't able to effectively run the ball up the middle, or even on the outside in these counter plays or toss plays. It's been a struggle. It's been a grind to get a couple of yards in the last against Wake Forest and NC State. And I think that's really been hurting the sync of this offense, because against LSU, against Boston College, against okay teams, not great teams, but you were able to establish a well-balanced offensive attack where you could chunk off 4 or 5 yards per rush consistently, not just on big plays, which would then set up your passing game. And we have not seen that. So run blocking, inconsistent run blocking has been one big takeaway for me. The second one, and I'll let you add to, the second one for me is I've seen a regression in Jordan Travis over the past 2 weeks, especially last week. I think, once again, I think that regression is he's not trusting his offensive line. Maybe he did as much earlier in the season. Injuries, rotating guys in and out on that line have maybe affected his decision making, where he feels like he has to press a little bit much. And some of that is too. I think he's maybe feeling he has to press because they get down. Even in these close games, and I think he puts a lot of pressure on himself to be the leader on this team, to will the offense to work. And when you're not able to run the ball effectively, when you're down late in games, I think we're starting to see a little bit of a glimpse of the old Travis where he's pressing. And you saw in the first interception when he threw into triple coverage, 2 receivers in the same zone. Even the defender looked surprised that he got the ball, like intercepted the ball, because he didn't expect the ball to go there. And you saw the frustration. And on the last play on the 20-yard line, going into drive, he forced that ball. I don't care what the play call is there. You have to have that thought process in your head of, I have to take care of the ball. So is this the best, even if that's a play drawn up, is me throwing the ball here going to put my team at risk to lose this game, versus me just taking off for 5 yards, or me just throwing it away or throwing it underneath, right? Because there's multiple routes on that play call. So I think there's been a little bit of regression in what we saw earlier in the season with Jordan. I don't know. Like I said, is it him trying to press too much and trying to will this offense to get back into sync when the run game isn't balancing out the pass game? Or where we just buying a little bit too much into the Jordan Travis is a pure passing hype, because we saw a lot more of him running the ball last week, which we said he had to do to be successful for this offense, which I do believe is a dynamic part of this offense is his running ability. But maybe that led into some of that regression, and he wasn't as focused on reading the field as he was previously. So those are two of my takeaways.
Yeah, let me comment on those two before we move on through the next three. One of my top takeaways was the offensive struggles. Now, they had 15 minutes, at least 15 minutes, a minimum 15 minutes in Wake Forest game the week before, and 15 minutes of football in the NC State game. I'm sorry, almost, probably 15 to 30 minutes in each game, really, each a half. Let's call it a half in each game, which led to the defeats of each of those games, where there was no offense in one half of each of those games. And in this particular game, the NC State game, that occurred in the second half. And, I like some numbers. I don't put everything on numbers, but in the first half of the NC State game, Florida State had 7 possessions, punted 3 times, but had 2 touchdowns and a field goal for their 17 points, which was it in the game.
Yeah, they only scored in one quarter. They got shut out in 3 other quarters.
And after that, in the second half, they had 6 possessions of the football and 4 punts and 2 interceptions. That was the game. Yeah. And the last one ended the game. So you can see the differences in those 2 halves there of what happened with the ball. It was almost like they flipped the script. NC State couldn't do anything in the first half, and then in the second half they came alive. But they won it with their field goal kickers, really, who they won it with. That guy is the number one, and he was last week and still this week, Matthew Dunn. I think it's Matthew Dunn. He's still the number 1 kicker in the country.
Yeah, so got 9 points.
But this is one of the things we have. This is one of the things we'll talk about, or I at least will talk about, and have been talking about for weeks now, is about field goal kicking. That's one of the things that I see as one of my takeaways is you could tell that even though Ryan Fitzgerald had a great night for himself on kickoffs and 1 good field goal, I think it was 37, 38 yarder, he was successful on, and everybody was congratulating. It was a great momentum going into the end of the first half. That still you could tell Mike is
it was a 47-yarder. It was a good.
Are you sure?
It was a 47-yard kick.
Okay,
before the half.
It was a good kick. That's right. It was. That's right. I said if he misses it, it's not going to. It's a long kick, and he hit it. And I think he was more relaxed because he probably thought, well, if I don't miss this, it's not a big deal. But he made it. It was a big deal. But here's the difference. A number 1 kicker rated in the country won the damn game for NC State, where our coach is hesitant to put him in certain situations. And that came out at practice this week. After practice in one of the post-game pressers. And I want to do this. I want to salute the beat reporters a little bit here's a salute, guys, for asking little bit tougher, little bit more relevant questions to Coach Norvell. Okay. And one of them was about kicking, but Coach Norvell said, he is my guy. I have total confidence in him, but I don't see that but he did say this in a rambling, what do we call that? Verbal judo answer?
No, that's not, no.
Okay. Well, rambling answer.
Verbal vomit.
That he would strategically use him, which tells you that's fine. If you think the guy's only good inside the 35 or 30, then say that. That's okay. But strategy wise, he said he'll use him according to the situation. And he kind of rambled around on that a little bit. But right now, Ryan is rated number 95 in the country. He's 5 for 10. It's a flip of a coin at this point. So, but congratulations to him for a good kick, which if we could have gotten down there, which gets us to the final play, the final series, could he have kicked it through and won the damn game? We never got that far because I think Coach Norvell was thinking, I don't want to put everything on his foot, even this close.
Well, that's absolutely. If you're NC State in that situation, you're running the ball 3 times and kicking the field goal to win the game. Like that's a total opposite situation.
Exactly.
If they're us, they're running
Yeah.
the ball 3 times, see what you get, and they're kicking the ball to win the game.
Yeah,
Like that is
exactly.
absolutely affecting the play calling. You're
Yeah.
not throwing a fade to a 6-foot, the smallest receiver on your team, on the opposite side of the field. That doesn't ever cross your playbook if you're NC State.
And it's the same play we ran before in the game.
Exactly. You went back to the well twice and it burned you. Like the special teams is absolutely affecting the play.
So one of the special teams, the field goal is conditioning the different strategy that the coach has to use now. And at some point, it's hard to believe that we'll go through the whole season where it won't come down to a kicking situation. It'll be unbelievable.
Yeah. We're going through our NC State recap right now, and then we'll jump into predictions for Clemson. So we'll go into what we see there. Jody Pollard comments in: Did you see today players Jordan Travis, Wright Fitzgerald met with the media after Wednesday's practice? Yeah, I mean, you can take what you want from those interviews. That's pretty much what it is. But
you don't get much.
Yeah, you get these kind of.
We watch all those. We don't get.
You do. I can't stand those.
Yeah, I do. You don't get much out of them.
It's just like practice reports. What are they going to say? Kids suck this. Like practice reports don't tell you anything because the guy can suck in practice and still be starting. And it's a guy can catch every ball in practice and then he drops 5 balls. And that goes on to my next point is that we saw another regression from our receivers this week. I don't know how many drop balls we had this week or last week against NC State.
We had five
drop balls.
One that I see is being reported, and that's what I counted, 5 balls.
And I would probably think that's probably a season high in a game.
And Johnny Wilson did not have a good night.
And he looked like the Johnny Wilson at Arizona State, or maybe why they pronounced him as a more raw product is because of some of those drop passes. A couple of those you could say are on the quarterback or a little bit low. I mean, if a guy's 6'7", you're throwing it at his legs and his shoelaces for some of those slants, it's because they do line him up in the slot at times, right? And so, Jordan on those were a little bit inaccurate. Some of those balls he's got to definitely catch. Malik dropped a pass. It seemed like everybody dropped a pass. Pookie dropped a pass too. Trey dropped everyone dropped a pass, it seemed like tonight or that night. And if you say 5, I'd say there's probably a season high, but that's something we were so used to seeing last season and the season before. It's inconsistency, things that killed the momentum of the offense. Easy pitch and catches that would draw 6, 7, 8, 10 yards that would move the chains. And like I said, if the ground game's not going, you're only getting 1 or 2 yards on that, and you come back, you throw something across the middle, and he drops that ball, it just kills the offense. If you can't get 5, 6 yards on these plays consistently, you're just killing yourself. You're not going to win these tough games. You have to be fundamentally sound, and that's what it was so great to see in the LSU game. LSU is a decent team. They have good talent, but Florida State caught every ball that was thrown their way. That was the most impressive thing about the game, especially the first game of the season. It was like they had sticky on their hands because every tough contested catch, whether it was tough or not, they caught the ball. They moved the chains. The chains kept moving forward, and that was the big thing. That's what we saw in Duquesne. That's what we saw against Boston College. Those are things that we consistently saw. And then against Wake Forest, some of these drops started to happen. And then last week, they really started to happen. So I'm hoping, once again, these are things you can clean up. Clean up to a certain degree. Some players have that trait to them where they have dropsy issues. Some players get better and they forget it. I don't know if it's a thing you can cure week to week, but we've seen this team operate at a high level from the receiver group that we were impressed. We're like, okay, Dugans is doing his job. He's developing these guys finally. But you have to clean it up. That is one thing that you could try to control, along with, once again, the penalties, which is my next takeaway. Penalties have to be cleaned up. You are not going to win with having every single week 100+ yards of penalties. I'm surprised, once again, you were even close to this being in this game with over 110 yards of penalty yardage. You almost had more penalty yardage than you had offense in the second half.
Yeah, let me add to your point on penalties. Right now, we're ranked 104th.
And once again,
104th at 0.76 compared to Clemson is at 57.
Yeah, and once again, this is what we expect from like the Florida State teams that will give you nightmares at night. The holding penalties, the procedural penalties when you're on 1st and 20 or 1st and 25, and it's like, how the hell are we going to get out of this hole? That is those are the things that where you would just, it would be the third quarter, you turn off the TV because you're down 35 points because there's no way you are always playing your offense in these holes, and you can't expect an offense to get 25 yards in 3 downs. Your team is not that good.
The Gibbons penalty was a killer.
Oh yeah, that was
and Norvell admits to that. He called that out. He didn't call Gibbons. He doesn't call anybody by name unless he's saying something good about him. But it was a shame, Dylan Gibbons. It was a shame. You know, I know what he was trying to do. He was trying to get to the next level and clean out a guy, which I'm for. Yeah. But unfortunately, and I always preach that: stay with your block, stay with your block, stay with your block till you hear the whistle. Sometimes you don't hear the whistle. He got called, and looked like a legitimate call. Whatever. I don't think it was that bad, to be honest, to be called. However, it was, and it went from like 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 2 to like 3rd and 20,
3rd and 2 to 3rd and 17,
3rd and 18.
Yeah, because it was going to be a 2-yard. It was going to be 3rd and 2, I believe, and then went to 50 yards.
And it took us out a field goal, if much less getting a field goal. I mean, getting a first down.
Yeah, it was going to be. Yeah, it was going to be 2-down territory.
It was a critical call in the game, a critical play in the game. And that was a very tough call.
Well, you saw that frustration, just to stay on that. You saw a couple of those frustration plays. You saw that one that may have been frustration just boiling over. And then you saw Micah Pittman's when on the turnover where he continued that play far off into the sidelines, and you got flagged for that. That ended up not really costing you, luckily, even though they were in positive they were on the positive side of the field with us. But that was another frustration play where you see Dugan's like looking at Micah like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, the play is over. Stop trying to bring
the ball. And we haven't had those the whole season. We haven't had these type of frustration plays. I'm not sure Gibbons was a frustration play. It just looked like he was continuing the block. Now, the other one was the sack on the quarterback that takes Leary out of the game. First of all, I don't, I didn't really research how Leary's doing at this point. I hope he's doing well. Hope he gets back on the field as soon as possible. It wasn't meant, he wasn't being targeted to being taken out of the game. However, I thought the sack and the tackle was a clean play. I thought it was a clean play. And I would teach guys to do that again. The ball was up in the air. He was up, in the air. Who was that, Farmer or Peyton?
I thought it was Farmer.
Okay, Farmer. They say I thought it was Peyton, but he went up and he was trying to get to the arms of the quarterback, and he did, and he put the guy down. I don't think it wasn't a late hit. It wasn't really targeting. I thought that was a very questionable call, and it took the quarterback out of the game, which at that point I said, oh man, is that an advantage? Not to try to deliberately hurt anybody, but it definitely swung the odds our way, or should have swung the odds our way at that point. And that's a whole different discussion I don't think we need to have and rehash unless you got something specific on that.
No, I think the only thing with that, I thought it was going to swing the game a little bit, because Devin, to that point, I mean, they had scored 1 touchdown through three and a half quarters almost. He was playing terribly for the most part. I mean, he had that 1 touchdown, like I said, that one drive. But for the most part, he was playing pretty awful. Like, he was not accurate for the most part.
Well, we'll give credit to our defense.
That's what I'm saying.
Our defense played well.
Had done pretty well. But Devin is not a mobile quarterback. You bring the guy in from, I think it was from Georgia Southern, but the guy ran for
Charleston Southern.
Yeah, Charleston Southern. Guy, obviously wasn't comfortable passing in that game.
No.
But he ran for how many first downs? And, he was able to break the pocket, which obviously Florida State hadn't game planned for. So he was able to break out that pocket.
Yeah, but why can't you just put a spy on him, put Kevin DeLoach on him like we did on running quarterbacks? We faced other running quarterbacks.
Like I said, it didn't break you. That wasn't the part that beat you, because they were obviously they got some good third down stops in the red zone, and that kept it on that one play where it was obviously a QB run. He broke it out, and I think Bethune or someone got him on the edge. They obviously were able to keep him out of the end zone, which is great. So I was surprised. I was happy to see that a mobile quarterback came on. They were able to still shut it down. But yeah, I think.
Well, we've had plenty of practice against a mobile quarterback, so I can't say
that doesn't mean you can defend it, though. That literally doesn't mean you can defend it.
Yeah, but it's not like you haven't seen it before.
Okay, what's your point? I don't.
My point is we saw it in the LSU
but it's not a
game.
wrinkle you prepared all week for. It's not a wrinkle you prepared all week.
Come
for.
on.
So they
install
it.
It's not that big a deal. Okay. It's not that big a deal. I mean, those are what you call the adjustments that they have to make during the game. That's Adam Fuller's job to make those adjustments. All of a sudden, you put your spy in there again. And this is how we run the spy defense. Come on.
That's not really how it works.
I know they didn't expect that. To happen, but it's not like we haven't played some really good running quarterbacks with LSU and Louisville.
Yeah.
So that's all. That's my point on that. Now, the last one I have on my list of the takeaways, and we're kind of covering them as we go here. The last big one I have two actually. One is the trenches. You've already kind of mentioned this, so I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm a little concerned about the offensive line. I think it's been hyped a little bit. I think it's an average offensive line at this point. And yes, this goes into my final point, which is injuries, both for the offensive line and the defensive line. I don't think Fabian Lovett's going to, I don't think he's going to play in this game. Some rumors are he could, but if he does, he's not going to be a game ready play. He's going to be on a snap count. If most, maybe, 20, 25 snaps, maybe. He's not going to be in game shape. Yeah. And we've got these massive injuries on the trench lines. And that is going or could possibly show up. Now, rushing wise, Clemson is 54th in the country right now. They're getting about 4.61 yards a carry. And believe it or not, we're ranked 25th in rushing still at 5.57, even though our rushing yardage over the last few games hasn't been outstanding. But we're still ranked 25th in rushing.
Yeah. So that, Clemson's only giving up 64 yards per game in rushing. So
yeah. They're going to be tough, and they get Brazier back.
Yeah, let's focus on NC State. Let's focus on NC State before we move forward. Okay. So what are your 2 points?
Well, my points are, the only reason I brought that up is about the problems with the injuries and how it's affecting the trench monsters in the line, both lines, offense and defense. That's where the injuries are really showing up. Okay. Yes, Treshaun Ward's probably not going to play, but I think we have enough people in the backfield. We get Ja'Kai Douglas back. He can help out in the backfield.
Is he confirmed back?
Yeah. He's 100% ready to go. 100% ready to go. Now, is he game ready to go? I could see them using him to catch passes out of the backfield. I think he's key at doing that. How many passes have we really seen come out of the backfield at this point? Not that many. Not that many.
Yeah.
Except when that guy could make a difference there. He is a game breaker guy. Okay, but he can also run the football. He's been declared 100% ready to go. I don't think he's going to get all the snaps. It's going to be Toafili, and it's going to be Trey Benson. This could be Trey Benson's breakout. This could be where he comes back, and has a good game. We need them to have a good game to keep possession.
Yeah.
So, but the defensive line is going to have to hold up. Clemson is a monster, and they have a monster. Oh, I don't want to get into that yet. Ahead of the game.
To close out my last 2 points, I think my last 2 points are defensive line. To your point, I agree. I think it's dangerously thin right now. You're having to play a lot of young guys, which is concerning to me.
Dennis Briggs has moved inside, it looks like.
Yeah, they've held up against NC State pretty well. Wake Forest, okay. You got gashed pretty hard against Wake Forest up the middle. Looked better last week, but it's dangerously thin right now. Like you're I don't like to blame injuries, but that group is gutted. You're playing guys a lot more reps than you would want to, who are young. So that's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you this week. It's going to hurt you in the weeks to come unless you can start getting Fabian Lovett, Cooper guys back.
I think Cooper's back.
I He got taken out, so I don't know if he's 100. But it's just 100. Can they play their full strength reps, or are you going to have to piecemeal them with freshmen and stuff like that? And same with Verse. Is he? He kind of got banged up last week.
All week. He's been in practice all week.
But is he still on the snap count? That's the thing. How many of these guys are on snap count?
I don't think so. I think he would play a lot more.
So, are they back? Are we healthy? Still a concern for me to be able to get pressure. You have to be able to get pressure on these quality quarterbacks. You cannot let them just sit back there or break contain on you, because I think once again DJ has the ability to break the pocket and run for 100+ yards in a game like this. And last week you weren't facing that, so having young guys scare me. So hopefully we can get some of these injured guys back. And then the last thing for me, you brought it up again, special teams. Special teams is affecting our play calling. I think Jody in the chat brought up what Ryan said during the press conference, which is interesting. When he was asked during the media this week, what changed during the 47-yarder, he said, "Yeah, so when I talked to you in the fall, I told you about how we switched the 2-step. He gave it 9 months. I put my all into that. At the end of the day, it didn't work out as I hoped. So I went back to the 3-step approach that I used last season. So I've got that down, and I'm feeling really confident with that." So it sounds like, man, that's interesting, that he's gone back to a 3-step approach to his kicks, and he hit that 47-yarder. Now, we know confidence is everything when you're a kicker. It's a lot of it's mental. A lot of these guys can kick the ball 55, 60 yards.
Well, he kicks it into the end zone on kickoffs.
It's just
got the leg.
It's like golfing. It's the mental part of the game. Can you do it consistently? Do you follow your motion, stuff like that? So it's interesting to know that he switched his motion up, and then his game went to shit. So he's going back to what he knew, what he was taught, and you kick a 47-yard. Now is it going to be perfect for the rest of the year? No, likely not. But it's good to see that he went back, he worked on things, went back to what he's known, and we'll see if it works out. So it's 1-for-1 right now. So great, Jody. Thanks for putting that in the chat. So special teams, like I said, on him, we need the kick returns. No turnovers yet on that side of things, which is great to see. Love to see another kick return touchdown. We all like to see that, but I think it's really on the kicking game. If we can get that back to being above 100 rank, so if we can start hitting kicks consistently, I think it's going to affect, because we'll talk about this, but our red zone efficiency is terrible right now, and that's a result of our kicking game. So special teams and red zone efficiency is what's killing us right now, and that can lead into our Clemson talk. So those are my key takeaways there.
Okay. Good enough.
Yep. So Clemson's coming up this week. That's our focus. That's the big talk right now. I think, like I said, this is going to be an extremely tough test at home, just like the last 2 weeks have been against NC State and Wake Forest. It doesn't get any easier this weekend. In my opinion, this is probably, I wouldn't say this is, one of your classic Clemson teams in terms of, they're beatable. You can win this game, but they still have 5-star talent across the board, right? This is a team that you cannot slip up against. You cannot commit dumb penalties. You cannot, put yourselves first and 20 or so second and 20s. You have to be firing on all cylinders and try to win every phase of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, in order to pull off what is going to be a top 5 team, enough said, at home. So I really think, like I said, you had a chance last week to win the game based on your defense. Your defense is going to have to step up big this time, because for Clemson, they are a team, unlike Florida State, who finishes drives. This is a team that has killer instinct when they get into the red zone. They are scoring, I believe, I think the red zone efficiency
it's very high. It's like 80%, 90% inside the 40.
Yeah, when they're goal to go, I think David Hale reported on one of his tweets, they're like 90% on goal to go.
Yes,
90
inside 90%. The 40. Yeah,
goal to go, which is
goal to go.
10 yards.
But inside the 40, they're like in 80% of getting points.
Yeah, yes, correct. The other, 90.7% of drives that cross the opponent's 40, they score. Whether it's field goal or
and
touchdown.
they've got a decent field goal kicker too. He's ranked number 40 in the country right now. He's got 11 of 13. He's a senior. He's been around. His name is BT Potter.
Okay, I don't want to talk about kickers. We can talk about kickers, but
you got to talk about kickers because they can win the damn game. You just got beat by NC State by a kicker. The guy had the guy had 12 points.
But let me finish my point. If they start their own 40 or our 40, like NC State did multiple times, they're going to score touchdowns. They're not going to score field goals on us. They are going to score touchdowns. They have a more competent offense than NC State does. They have a better running back than
But
NC
they're
State
not
does.
afraid to use their kicker if they need to use it.
They're a more high-powered offense than NC State.
I understand that.
That's what I'm saying. If you give them the chances you gave NC State, they're going to cash them in. That is my point. You cannot give them the same opportunities you give NC State because they will put it in the end zone. They have shown and proven that time and time again. So that's what scares me. And on the flip side, with our red zone, I think we were a top 20 team in the red zone last season in terms of red zone scoring. And this season, it's totally reversed. We were out of I believe the top 100 in terms of red zone scoring. We cannot find a way to get the ball.
Well, some of that's because we're afraid to kick the field goals too. Because we've been missing on fourth downs. I mean, if you're lucky to get 50% of fourth down tries.
Absolutely. And it's definitely affecting, like we saw last week, affects your play calling, affects what you do. You don't feel confident. I mean, the missed kicks early in the season, and then you're passing, you're fading the ball to your smallest receiver on the field, and obviously scoring situations that you need to get the ball in.
If you're on your 30-yard line, and if you're on the opponent's 30-yard line and it's fourth and 2, 4th and 3, they're having to go for it now because they don't have the confidence. I don't care what Coach Norvell says in the press conferences, and he's been pushed a little bit in a way but he's saying, I'm with this kid, but that's not showing up in the games. Okay. That's not showing up.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think FSU ranks 111th in red zone scoring, red zone efficiency, which they were 15th last year. So like you said, that comes down to special teams. That also comes down to be able to run the ball, like get into the red zone and be able to pound the ball into the end zone. Like that is a part of that too. The last couple of weeks, like I said, if we look back the first couple of weeks, I feel like that percentage is probably a lot higher. But the last couple of weeks, like I said, you have not been able to establish.
But we played nobody in the
that's
last
what I'm saying.
We didn't play anybody.
The degradation of the line, you have not been able to establish a line of scrimmage and be able to run the ball inside the red zone and establish that line and continue to pound and pound and pound and wear them down and get into the end zone like you were able early into the season. And so that just shows, like you said, a combination of injuries, combination of talent, and combination of people adjusting to you. You aren't able to have that balance on offense and switch it up and cash in those opportunities. And I think, like you said, you have to scheme it up, adjust, but you have to start scoring it on these opportunities. Whether it's improve your field goal kicking game with this new 3-step approach, maybe it'll help out, or you have to start scheming up ways to get the ball into your pass catcher's hands. I don't know. I don't know how you fix it, but you have to get that. You have to fix it.
I looked at a press conference that Davil Sweeney had, and he's pretty candid, but he does a lot of the coaching 101 stuff, just like Mike. They all go to the same class. But one of the questions he got asked was, I expect you're going to see more screens Saturday night, these bubble screens, tunnel screens, and stuff like that. How are you going to defense that? So he goes, we've been working on that.
Well, Florida State has great receivers that block. Micah blocks, Johnny blocks. They do.
If they're not out there blocking, then you got a problem with those plays. Those plays will never go.
I don't think that's an issue. I think Florida State has good.
And they're a little dangerous if the defender jumps the route on those.
Yeah.
If he gets out there quick and recognizes it, Yeah. So that's going to be an issue. Obviously Clemson's got a really decent quarterback who's starting to find his way. DJ Oligari, I call it. And I'm sure that's not even close to be right. So if there's any Clemson fans out there, I apologize to DJ and his fans. But DJ is a big dude. He's a big guy. And now he's been encouraged to run a little bit more too. All right. Where he just wanted to kind of stay in the pocket. He is starting to make some big plays with his legs. So I don't think he's as dangerous as Malik Cunningham was or Daniel, what's his name for LSU? But this guy, if he escapes containment, he's going to make some yards, and he's a big dude. So, he's going to be a hell of another challenge here. And he's not the only quarterback we're going to see that's really good moving forward. So he's a problem. They have a good defense up front. Brazier is coming back. He's the defensive tackle. Unfortunately, he lost his sister to cancer, and our prayers and thoughts go with him and his family, but he's coming back this week. And as Dabo said, he goes, that's not a bad guy to have come back. He sat out a week, and I'm sure he'll come back blazing. Playing for his sister, and so there's going to be a lot of emotion there. There's going to be a big crowd in Doak. And this is another national primetime game. The announcers are the first team guys, Herb Street and who's the other guy? Herb Street and what's his name? I can't even remember. It's going to be big. It's going to be big. And there's going to be a ton of recruits there. Yeah. A ton of recruits on the sidelines watching. Yeah. The question starts to become, do the commitments that Florida State has taken for 23, do they waver if we lose this game? If it's a competitive game, I don't think it affects anything. If it's non-competitive, and I expect it to be very competitive, okay, because this isn't your normal Clemson type team, they are beatable. Let's not forget now, this is not all doom.
No,
they are beatable.
They're not in the tier of Alabama or Georgia. They're not.
They are not. They are not.
But they can blow you out. That doesn't mean they can't blow you out.
They can. If you play poorly, they can. That's right. Because of the stats you brought up on their scoring ability.
Yeah.
All right. So, and they have high quality athletes. Let's not fool ourselves. Yeah. And they've been under the same coaching regime for a long time now, except on defense, where Brett Venables got his clock cleaned out at Oklahoma, which was unbelievable last weekend. So, this is another pivotal game that we face, and there's a lot on the line on this game. And the pressure now continues to build going forward in these final games. I heard one of the local media, channels. We're talking about, Syracuse. They haven't played anybody. They're 6-0. I don't give a shit who they haven't played. We don't know. But what I'm saying is, we can't underestimate anybody on this schedule.
Yeah.
We haven't earned the right to underestimate any team that we're going to be facing this season or next season. And we're not even going to talk about that. But we can't underestimate anybody on this schedule.
Absolutely.
I don't know who the hell thinks we are. That's all the hype that started as we got to 4-0.
Yeah.
And I've been preaching polls, rankings, all this stuff that's still being put out by the beat reporters and everybody else. That's a bunch of crap is what it is. You need to leave these kids alone and let them play football week in and week out.
Yeah. I mean, just to add to that, like you said, I think if we give Clemson the opportunities like we did last week, they'll blow us the hell out of the stadium. They have too much talent.
And it will be embarrassing. It will be embarrassing.
That's what would entail being blown out.
And you could lose. You could start to lose or starting. What you do in that is it opens up. You can't forget when a guy commits, other coaches don't stop calling them. Obviously. There's no rule, NCAA rule that says, hey, can't call these guys anymore. Not that I'm aware of. And they start getting in their ear. Is that what you want?
Well, for the first part, I don't think Florida State's going to win. There's very few recruits that Florida State is out recruiting for Clemson right now. Let's just be honest there. But if Clemson wanted a guy, you don't
think there's guys that we have commitments that we could lose?
Not to Clemson, because we're not getting Clemson guys right now. We're not getting Clemson talent right now. But if they wanted a guy of ours, yeah, obviously that would help. But in terms of the game, like I was saying, they're deadly when it comes to scoring if they get the opportunities to. There's been some games where they struggled to get the ball. Last week against Boston College, they started slow, and like you saw, they went on and made that a rout. contain Boston College. Boston College is not a great team, but they can have a tendency to start slow and then they come alive in the second half or later in the game. They are explosive at times. Last year in the matchup, it was a very close game. There were a couple of plays go either way, and Florida State wins that game on the road. I wouldn't say too much has changed in terms of the matchup. Maybe on our side it has. You get a large infusion of receiving talent. Florida State didn't play very well last year offensively. You didn't run the ball. You ran the ball for less than 2 yards a game on average. Travis threw for less than 200 yards, had a couple of touchdowns. Your defense really kept you in the game for the most part on that. For the most part, Jermaine Thomas had a pick, sack, and score last year. But that is the thing that you're missing. Your defense of line played pretty well for the most part last year. But you lose Keir, who had a sack and a half. You lose Jermaine Johnson. And you lose a ton of talent from that line that you had. And this time around, you're super young, you're super injured on that defensive line, which scares me. Because Will Shipley, he gassed you a lot last year.
He's a he's a tough running back kid. He's kind of like he reminds me of that guy for the Panthers, McCaffrey.
He's not he's like McCaffrey a little bit. Yeah. He's twitchy. He's fast. He can do it all. You can put him in receiving. You can put him in rushing. He's tough. He's a guy you have to make sure is on the ground because he's going to fight until that whistle goes. Like he's definition of what you want, like Jim Rat, whatever stupid term you want to use. But that's the kind of guy that Clemson gets, is that type of guy. They always seem to find this little guy that does things like this. And Will Shipley is that kid. And he killed you last year. And so he's back. He's back again, even better. And he's leading them in the rushing attack. So we've seen it. This defensive line so far has been getting gashed up the middle. Last week you saw a couple of different backs. You were able to shut it down a little bit for the most part. I mean, NC State they didn't have a ton of rushing yards against you last week. But when they did, it seemed like it went for big yards. They had a couple of chunk plays on you. And Clemson's a lot more talented in running back than NC State is. So that's the part that scares me. The other part that scares me is that DJ, he's not the, like you said, Malik Cunningham. He's not going to look to run first, but he's shown that he can. Against NC State, he ran for 73 yards against them. He was, and that's what we were trying. That was our game plan against NC State, right? How do you kind of make those? How do you saw NC State with their linebackers? They were attacking, they're filling the box, stuff like that. How do you get those guys that are overcommitting? How do you balance that out? You have a quarterback that can run the other way, right? You could misdirection them, and that's what they did to a T. They bounced it out. They made DJ run, and that's what I'm afraid that Clemson may do against us, is that they may use DJ more in the running game, because some games he doesn't run at all. He doesn't run at all. He just passes.
They're encouraging him to run more. I listened to Dabo's press conferences this week, and they're almost encouraging him to run a little bit more, telling him when you see the space, take the space. That's what they're basically saying to him. Because those questions came up from their beat reporters.
And in the last two games against NC State, he had over 70 yards. Against Boston College, he had 69 yards, and he's averaging about 5 yards per carry. So to your point, and like you heard from Dabo, he's doing enough to move the chains, and that's what he's adding an extra element to this offense that it may be missing. They don't have the typical big play receiver that they usually have.
They don't have those outside guys.
But he's adding that extra element that keeps the chains moving, keeps the offense moving. Yes. And that's the thing that scares me, because Florida State, I have to give them credit. They have been able to contain the mobile quarterback. We won at Louisville. We kept Jaden Daniels. But something scares me is that when that game grinds on, when you get to the third and fourth quarter, that defense starts to tire, and those legs from the quarterback start to break you down. And so if our offense isn't humming, and if our offense isn't showing it capable to score, and Clemson shows that killer instinct where they're scoring at 90% a clip every time they get within the 40-yard line of the opponent, and you have DJ's legs, it scares me that the defense won't be able to do enough to win this game. This offense has to come alive on Saturday, or this team has no shot. Well, we cannot expect to put up 20 points and win this game. You have to score 30 plus.
Averaging 39 points
a game. And I expect them to score 35 plus against Florida State on Saturday.
Now I've looked at their schedule. I'm not going to read it off, but their schedule is not impressive at this point to getting to 6-0. They are beatable, but this is going to be This is going to be a game where our offense has to play 2 full, consistent halves of ball possession and gaining points once they're down there in the red zone area. And it can't just be field goals. It's going to have to be touchdowns to have a chance, an opportunity to beat Clemson. Clemson is going to put up points. They're going to put up a minimum, in my opinion, of 30 points.
Absolutely.
Minimum.
100%.
Okay. So we're going to have to outscore them in this game and get enough
that's how you
third and out to have the ability to get the ball back.
It's not just throwing it out. It's possessing and keeping them off the field, limiting their chances to possess and score the ball. You have to win the time of possession game. The last 2 weeks, you have been dominated on time of possession. You have to get the ball, keep the ball, and then punch it in. You can't keep the ball for 8 minutes and then come away with 0 points. That does nothing. That just actually hurts you because you took time off the clock, you gave it back, and then when they come and run it down your throat and score, it kills your team. It kills all the momentum. Yeah, so you're going to keep the ball, possess the ball, and then score the damn ball.
Clemson and FSU are basically almost even in terms of nationally ranked time of possession. In the stats this week.
I would like to average that out for the last 3 weeks. I bet it is.
Well, I'm just saying for the season, they've got it at about 31. Clemson was 31 minutes. Florida State was 30 minutes.
Yeah, in time of possession. And just looking at
now, one of the
look at the NC State game. Look at the NC State game, for example. We played NC State. They play NC State. Our time of possession in the NC State game was 26 minutes against NC State's 33 minutes. When Clemson beat NC State at home 30-20, NC State had the ball for 26 minutes. Clemson had for 33. It was the reverse. That is how you beat good teams like NC State. You possess the ball, you limit their opportunities, and then you score. That is how they beat NC State. That's how we have to beat Clemson. We have to keep them off the field. You have to score when you have the opportunities.
Now, the other thing that's been difficult for us is, as you just said, is stopping teams on third down. Okay. Stopping teams on third down. Clemson is ranked 13th in the country. They're converting 50% of those third down plays, which is high, which is good, which is good. So they are well equipped to take you apart if you allow them to. And of course, we haven't talked about turnovers. All of a sudden, we're starting to turn the ball over a little bit. This team, between penalties, turnovers, and ineffective offense, we don't have room for one of 3 of those. When you have all 3, you're going to lose. This team is going to lose. It's just the facts. It's the reality. You can say we're being negative on this program, and you can sit back in the fantasy world of Disneyland, which, by the way, just raised their prices in California. It's like $179 now to get in. But you can sit in Disney World or you can sit in reality. We love this team. We love these guys. We think they're working their asses off from coaches on down. But the reality is we have no room for errors. We have no room. We have no buffers here. None.
It's also more enjoyable to watch the game when you're realistic about what the expectations are. If you go into every one of these Florida State games and expect them to win by 10 points when that's not realistic to, then you're going to be highly disappointed and be throwing things at your television when you watch it. But when you go in thinking, okay, my expectation is this is what could happen, this is what probably will happen, then this is what definitely may happen, then you can go in and have level expectations when you're watching the game. You won't get overly excited.
Yeah, let me throw this out too. While we're on this is we are
agreed
against the teams we've played this year. The combined record of those teams we have played is 20 wins and 16 losses. Okay. The two teams in that group that we played, Wake and NC State, are 10-2 on the season. The teams we actually beat are 10-14 on the season. So when it comes to beating really competitive teams, our record is not good. Not good. And so Clemson is the highest ranked of any team we've played this season. So if we're just strictly being objective and betting these games, all these things would go against Florida State. There is no margin for error on this team in any remaining game, including Saturday night.
No, I totally agree with you. And we said this stretch would be the litmus test and the hardest stretch of the season. But none of these games are going to be guarantees. None of the games will be guarantees. And you know, it's going to be a tough one. It will. You're not expected to win on Saturday night, but you're expected to be competitive. In my eyes, you have to be competitive. If you if you want to show any growth as a club, as a team, if you want to believe that Mike Norvell's made a difference, you have to keep and be competitive. I don't care about injuries. I want to
officiating.
If you want to have shown progress, this game has to have stayed competitive through the fourth quarter. I don't care about anything else.
I agree. I totally agree with your position on that. That the remaining games on this schedule, including this Clemson game, being competitive means this. Being competitive means you could lose every game, but I don't agree with that. No, wait a minute. When you say competitive, being competitive means you're giving yourself a chance to win
you have
every
to close
game.
Some of those.
That's true. But you're being competitive. You could be a 500 team for the season and be competitive. Okay, we can't get blown out anymore. No. That's the key. We can't get blown out. We can't have, we just had a bad day. In fact, listening to Dabo this week, which I find it interesting listen and look at the other team. You know what he said when they played Furman? And I'm sure all these coaches are motivators.
Oh my God.
No, wait a minute.
He's commenting on.
No, but what he said, he was so disappointed in his defense in that game. I don't even know what the score was. I don't even know what it was. You know what? You know what he said? They usually give out a defensive award each week after the game. He said, we didn't give one out.
Oh, he's such a tough guy.
Okay. Well, no, I'm just saying what I'm saying is that, these guys motivate differently. Coach Mike, he motivates strictly through positive notes, positive names, positive everything. Everything a beat reporter asks about, he's going to give the positive of the guy. And that's good. I get that. Because we're dealing with different kids today than we did 20 years ago. It was a different type of motivational thing. But I'm just, I think these are all things, but we can't afford to get blown out. Now the question is, what is a blowout? Is it 2 touchdowns? Is it 3 touchdowns? Was it 21 points?
10 or more points.
And you know what? I had the.
I have. We can do the predictions.
Let's go. Let's roll right into those. Let's roll right into the predictions. It's jumping around a little bit. You want me to go through the predictions?
I have them up here. What do you?
Okay. All right.
I'm right here, buddy.
Go for it, man.
All right. Oh wait, let me do this instead. All right, I'll share my screen here.
And while you're doing that. The last Vegas odds that I saw on the FSU game is FSU plus 3.5.
It's Clemson 3.5.
3.5. Okay.
I just looked these up on ESPN. All right. So we got 4 games of the week that we're going to do predictions for. ACC score predictions like last week. We can hold off for Clemson at the end. Clemson Forest State.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Let's start with Syracuse at NC State.
That is Go ahead. Let me start off. I'll start off on that.
The line is Syracuse minus 3.5 on the road at NC State. Like you said, it should be an awesome game. Honestly, I kind of want to watch that one because I haven't watched a ton of Syracuse yet, but they seem to be sort of legit.
They have a good quarterback.
They do.
They have a good quarterback. who is very consistent at this point. He's not
They have a
turning
good
the
running
ball
back.
over.
They have
Yeah,
a good
and
running back too.
yeah, I think that, one guy was saying, I saw something, they said, hey, the Syracuse coach better get his name in for these other big jobs real quick and get the hell out of Syracuse.
But you said before too, but if you're looking at their combined record of teams played, it's a lot worse. You're talking about
Syracuse
Wagner,
hasn't played
Virginia,
anybody.
UConn.
Yeah,
like
they haven't played anybody.
So this will be a true. If they can win this game, then I mean, they're legit. So who are you picking in this one?
I'm gonna pick Syracuse in an upset. I know it's very, very tough in Raleigh. They have like a 14-game win streak there now at home for the Wolfpack. But I'm going to say Syracuse, for them, this is one of the biggest games they have had in the last several years. A chance to legitimacy and it's a divisional game.
I'm sorry. This is at Syracuse. I messed up. This is at Syracuse.
Oh, I'm going to
That's why they had the points. That's why they had the points.
Okay, I'm still going to take Syracuse. Okay. I'm going to take Syracuse at home, and they have a chance to move up further in the division.
Yeah. If those were reversed, like I had it wrong, I would have picked NC State at home. I'm still going to pick NC State just based on body of work. Well, no, with quarterback being out, I'm going to pick Syracuse. I think if NC State has quarterback, if he's healthy, if Devin Leary's, even though he hasn't played well, if they have him, I think this offense totally changes with Devin Leary out. I don't think Syracuse is that legit yet, but I think the starting quarterback knocked out, I'm going to go Syracuse as well, especially at home with that offense. I think they get the 3.5, and they'll pull off the upset there. If you could, they'll pull off the upset over number 15. So next is UNC, who's off to a pretty hot start themselves against Duke. So that interstate rivalry. Who are you picking in that one?
Not even close. UNC.
Based
on their quarterback alone. Yeah. But I don't care if it's home or away, based on their background. And Mac Brown, by the way, used to watch Mac Brown play at Florida State. For you fans out there didn't know, Mac Brown is a FSU alum, and he played at Florida State. Okay, so I'll go with the old coach, the old ball coach there. I'll go with UNC. They're just too strong for Duke.
Yeah, I think if Duke hadn't lost last week, a horrible loss against Georgia Tech, I would have picked maybe Duke at home. But UNC, I mean, I don't know how they find these quarterbacks. They always seem to find these quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't know where they got this guy.
Throw the ball.
Yeah.
But I'll pick UNC. They're 5-1. They could be 6-1 after this weekend, 3-0 in the ACC. Yep. So I'll go ahead and pick them. And then we got our matchup between two awful teams. You got Miami in Blacksburg against Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
I'm surprised. Oh well, this game got relegated to ESPN 3 for anyone that's wondering. Not even on ACC Network.
What time is that? 9 a.m.
Yeah, well,
9 a.m.
That would make sense. 12:30 on ESPN 3 is about as low as you can get, folks. I'm sorry to say.
Can you believe though? Even in the different time zone, not East Coast, teams are kicking off at 11 a.m. That sucks. I don't care. I hate noon kickoffs. I'm a night game. Florida State has been so good at getting these night games. Because
they ruin your entire night. They suck up your
winning. What?
They suck up your entire night, though, which is the part.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. You going out running around
I would like
the area?
To, but yeah. Okay, let's get back
to you got a job to do, mister.
Yeah, let's talk about the snoozer. If you are out late, I suggest you not waking up for this game. 12:30 ESPN 2 ESPN 3 on your
Most
computer.
people don't even have that.
Yeah.
They don't even have that.
I don't know who's going to pay for this game, but who you picking? Miami -7 in Blacksburg.
I'll tell you, the Hokies are tough at home. Now they're in a rebuilding.
They're awful.
No, wait, they're early in a rebuilding, but in Blacksburg's a great place to watch a ball game. If you've never been to Blacksburg, Virginia, it's a great place, a great city, great town, and my daughter went to school there. How about that? My daughter went to school there.
We have another Hokie fan, Jody. Jody was on the broadcast last week.
Yeah,
she's a Hokie alumni. So
maybe that's BT Potter's kicker for Clemson's sister or something. Jody, you the kicker's sister. I'm going to take. Miami, I still like Van Dyke. I still think that guy's a good quarterback. He put up big numbers against UNC, even though they lost. I'm going to go with Miami on the road in Blacksburg. Sorry out there, Jody.
Yeah, I hate to pick Miami, but from what I've seen of Virginia Tech's offense, I mean, they gave up 350 yards to one running back last week. Like one guy ran for 350 yards last week against them.
Yeah, that's unacceptable.
I just don't think.
Unacceptable.
I think Van Dyke will throw for 400 yards against them this week. I think it'll get ugly.
The weather's not that cold. It's not going to bother them.
Yeah, I hate to pick Miami, but I'm going to go with
But Miami will have all their heaters and the blankets
and the gold chain,
bonfires.
Have the turnover chain out.
The turnover chain. No, they're talking about they need to bring it back.
So dumb. So dumb. All right. And then we go to the matchup of the week, ABC.
Oof.
ABC, 7:00? Or is it 8:00?
Huh?
What time is this game at?
No, 7:30.
7:30, yeah. 7:30.
Which never go at 7:30 because the 3:30 game's never over. It's never over.
Oh,
and then they start. ESPN starts doing their thing. Well, tune in to ESPN Premium Plus at this ESPN channel. News. We will start the game over there, and this and that, and nobody can find it. So listen, if that happens to you, you're not at the game, then go to the Seminoles app, go to the Florida State app, and just pull it up there and listen on there for a while.
Or Bruce will pull up the game live on his cable and share it on YouTube.
Yeah, I do.
All right, -3.5 Clemson on the road. Pretty much greatly favored in terms of predictors, stuff like that. What is your?
I'm getting a lot of hate mail from the fans saying, "Hey, old man, old man, do I look that old? Come on." Yeah, old man, what are you picking against our team all the time? My job is to give an analysis from the fan standpoint. Otherwise, I could just call it, I want Florida State every week. Well, I know that's not reality. I live in reality. I don't go to Disney World, especially at the new prices. I hope this could be a wild game. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a competitive game. I am going to pick, unfortunately, Clemson Tigers. Clemson will move
covering the spread, though. Covering the spread.
Yeah, I think they'll cover that spread. At least by a touchdown. At least by a touchdown. So
I think Clemson's 3-3 on the season.
Oh God,
spread against the spread. Florida State's 4-2 against the spread this season. I predicted, earlier this season. I'm not going to waver from that. I do think Clemson, unfortunately, does cover the spread. I think they cover the game.
Well, listen, I don't want the fans to think I ever picked Florida State. That's not true. I picked them against Wake Forest, and unfortunately, we lost that game. I gotta go with Clemson for some of the reasons I outlined. And I'm not going to be happy if we lose.
Can I get my pick out, please? Jeez. You got your moment in the spotlight.
You're still angry from last Saturday night, KB. You're still angry.
Gosh.
Good.
No, I like I said, I'm gonna have to pick. Why do you feel like you have to validate and give evidence for your decision every single time?
Why I think the way I think.
You okay? Get your words out now before I go make
nothing. I'm done.
You're done. Okay,
done for now.
I'm picking Clemson for some of the reasons I outlined. I think DJ will run for probably 75 plus yards. I think we'll have trouble containing him on third down. I think we're going to struggle against a mobile quarterback again, and then that's going to open up their passing offense. I do think the offense is going to continue to struggle. I don't think we're going to hit that 30-point mark that you stated before. I think we're going to have to get 30 points to win this game, and I don't think we're going to be able to get there, which it saddens me, but I think it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah. I can't totally disagree with that. Now, you know what happens next?
What?
Is the weather. What impact will the weather be? I will tell you right now, it's not going to snow Saturday night, fans. But here's your weather report. This is your game day weather report for a 7:30 kickoff. All right. And I've got around 5 p.m. It's going to be around 82 degrees around 5 p.m. 7 p.m. we're going to be around 75 degrees. Around your kickoff, it's going to be about 75. Going to be great weather for football. 9 p.m., It's going to be 65 degrees. So the temperature is going to be dropping. It's perfect for foot. Perfect. So there's zero chance for rain. Zero chance. You don't need the ponchos. You can't take the umbrellas anyways. And guess what? 100%. I'm sorry. The winds are going to be light at 6 miles per hour. And there's about a 44% humidity. So the humidity is going to be down. So the players are going to love that. The bottom line is 100% the lights will be on. The lights will be on. Not like at Raleigh. The lights will be on at the Doak.
I mean, they won't be on until like the second half, though.
No.
Oh, wait, 7 o'clock, right? Well,
they get them up early. They get them up early.
Right.
So we got a beautiful day for tailgating. It's going to be a very, very big day in Tallahassee. It is great to see these 7:30, 8 o'clock primetime games. And it's great for recruiting, but you have to play well. You have to play well.
Pack the stadium.
It's going to be packed. The sidelines are going to be packed. It's going to be an exciting game. And you know what? The Noles have to be up for it. This is a game you don't have to motivate them. They know what this is. This is a big game. It's a rivalry game, and it goes way back to the Bowden Bowl. For those who you may remember, some of you don't remember, when Tommy Bowden was there coaching at Clemson, and he was playing against his dad, Bobby. You know, it was classic stuff. I mean, the TVs loved it, and it was great for college football.
Yeah.
Great for college football. Hey, I got one more to add. I got one more thing to add.
What is that?
A special fan sent me a DM and said, hey, you guys, how about JMU clocking in at number 25 on the rankings in the polls? James Madison University, Harrisburg, Virginia, up the road from Blacksburg. Guess what? They beat the Hokies some years back. They are now FBS, and they're starting to show. They showed up and beat App State. They're on the road to play Georgia.
Who they play
Southern
this weekend?
Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern, who has a good program. They're going to be on the road, but they're an 11.5-point favorite down there. So
I think they got a while to go before they're with the big dogs. But
I'm picking the JMU Dukes. I'm picking the Dukes, brother.
Well, when we have our Sun Belt preview show, I'll be sure to have that fan on, right?
Would you schedule? You want Florida State to schedule JMU?
We're not.
He hesitates. The guy hesitates.
When they've earned their stripes, we can invite them to play. They got a few years to go.
They're starting to roll. The problem JMU has had in the past, they can't keep a coach. It's a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone program, and they have a problem, but they keep rebuilding quickly with new coaches.
All right. The last relevant question for Florida State I have you, and then we can maybe cut this off. Someone asked this on Twitter. If Mike Norvell and Dabo were to have a foot race before Saturday's game, who would win?
Mike Norvell and Dabo?
Yeah, and that's a question for everyone in the chat. If Mike Norvell and Dabo were to be in a foot race before Saturday's game, who would win? Go ahead and comment that in the chat if you watch this later.
Yeah, you know who I'm going to pick in that? Let me get you know who I'm going to pick on that. I'll show you who I'm going to pick right here, baby. Right here. I'm picking my man, Coach Norvell. Now, you remember, you fans who follow us, I challenged Norvell and Coop to a race for $500 to charity, to a local charity in Tallahassee. That bet stands, mister. That bet stands. But you know what? If you and Dabo have a race, I'll contribute $500 to any local charity you want. I'll write the check on the air if you guys race.
Do you think you could beat Dabo? Even in his khakis? Do you think you could beat him?
I'm waiting for Dabo to slip down that hill and not get hurt.
What video is it?
There he comes. Look at him. I don't know. Mike could beat him.
I don't know if Mike could beat him.
Mike could beat him. Those guys, If they did that for charity for Florida, that's what they should do. That's what they should do. And I'll put the first $500 down. That's what they should do. There, right there. Look at that. We'll go 40 yards.
Nerd. He's such a nerd.
You know what? We'll put Coop in there, and then Clemson could pick one of their trench monsters. How about that?
He's such a nerd.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. You know what? That's the beauty of college football. Dabo.
Wendy says Dabo. Jody says Norvell wins. See, we got to split group. We got to split group.
No, I'm picking Norvell, man. I'm picking.
Why didn't anyone pick Bruce? Nobody thought Bruce could be the mechanic.
Yeah, what about me? What about the old man?
You fall down the hill. You fall down the hill.
Well, yeah, I don't want to do the hill too much. That'll slow me down. But on that level field, I guarantee I put the money out there. Out there.
All right. Well,
nobody took it.
There was one final clip. I should have brought this up earlier, but I wanted to discuss this before we get through another game. And they kind of got. I don't know if anyone covered this directly, but I thought it would be good to bring up on today's show. And it's kind of going backwards. I should have brought it up. I don't know if
it's going to be sad.
Well, it is kind of going to be sad.
Okay.
Well, it could be depending on how. So there's a moment in the NC State game, 6 minutes in the fourth quarter, after a turnover. I want to know from you, Bruce, watching, and everyone watching with us, is this something that we need to be concerned about in a moment in the game? So this was after the turnover.
Okay.
The first interception that Jordan threw. You see him come over the sideline, and it's kind of get glossed over, but there was the interaction between Norvell, and you see
it's the second half. Yeah.
Yeah. He kind of not engaging with Norvell. Norvell kind of has to grab him and say, like, kind of focus up, like,
okay.
And people said, like, he was basically disengaged with Norvell and not really listening to, like, he's like, just calm down, listen to me. You can see he's like really not in there listening to Norvell. And some people took this some way. Some people were like, he's got a leader would stand there, take the criticism, like Jameis used to. Jameis used to, Jimbo would rip him and say, "Come here."
Yeah, but Jameis didn't always take it well either.
Oh no! I agree.
I'll comment first. He
was a freshman. He was a freshman.
Let me comment first. I think it was frustration. I don't think it was disrespect to Coach Norvell. I don't think it's a character issue with Jordan. I think Jordan has really made great strides in his performance and his skill development.
Yeah.
The game, there was a lot on the game here, and this is at home. The team had aspirations that have been hyped by us in the media, not necessarily by us, but by a lot of people, hyped. And I think it was frustration. At that point, we're down 19-17.
No, we were up. Oh, sorry. We were down. We were down. You're right.
We were down. And it was a critical series of plays.
Yeah.
I think Coach Norvell did a great service and was a great coach in that moment, trying to get his young quarterback. He's still a young quarterback. His young quarterback's attention, and the frustration was coming out. Now, the question is, why was the frustration? Was he frustrated with himself on the read and the throw, or was he frustrated by receivers that went the wrong way or had been dropping balls all night? But it was frustration. And I think the media has hyped this. If Jordan didn't care, we'd be more concerned. Mm-hmm. That's my take.
Yeah. I think for me, it was more, like you said, Jordan wants to, he wants to win. He's highly competitive. For me in the moment, it was sort of the body language of, just some of the mannerisms, I'm not in his position, right? These guys work their butts off. They want to win. They give it their all.
They're under a lot of pressure.
Exactly. And so, I'm not in a position to judge that, right? But certain, you see certain other players have certain body language as a leader. I think, like you said, it was a lot of frustration, right? Things were not going right all night. You hadn't scored in the third, you hadn't scored yet in the fourth. I think it was a lot of frustration in the moment, right? Of things are just not going our way right now. I can't do anything right now. And he thought maybe at that moment he had lost them the game. So, like you said, I think it's just
he doesn't know he's going to get the ball back.
Yeah,
I think know that.
In that moment, he thought he had maybe given away. I just can't do anything right now. And like you said, I think it was just a learning moment for him. And I think, like you said, I think Norvell did the right thing. It was just calm down, just focus up, calm down. So I think this is a good maybe teaching moment for both of them of like, hey, I got you. Just so yeah. So in the moment, I was like a little like, okay, maybe this isn't a good sign. But at the end of it, when I kind of thought about it more, it's like, let's not overblow this. Let's not overblow the moment, right? So
well, no, and I agree with you. This came up at one of the press conferences this week. This came up. Okay, it was a question that was thrown out there in an appropriate professional manner, and salute again to the beat reporters for doing what they should do. I'm going to give you credit when it's due. Mm-hmm. And it came up, and Coach Norvell handled it right, said he was, we're there to communicate with each other on what happens and so on. But he didn't seem irritated by it at all. And I just believe that's what it is. Competitive nature, frustration. We see it in sports, and Jordan is a growing quarterback. Jordan will be the quarterback of this team next year. He's not going to the pros. He's not going to the pros next year. If he does, I'll be shocked, and it's a big mistake on his part. Well, he is going to be the quarterback of this team next year, and I think next year a lot of these guys that now I'm hearing the hype on a number of these guys. Oh, they're all going to the NFL. Really? No. We'll have a show about that. We'll have a show about that. Oh, who's ready to go?
Well, I think for Jordan, this is the first year he's had to be a more vocal leader. Like last year, he wasn't. It was Milton. It was a Corbin. There was other.
Well, he's used to winning too. Now he's used to doing some winning, and you don't want to lose when you're losing. He doesn't want to lose. He's lost 2 games in a row.
Yeah, I get it, but I think this is clearly
you should not.
He's in the spotlight as a leader. Like he has. Right. He's the guy. Like. And that, it's how you present yourself in these situations. Guys are all looking at you. So this is the first time too. All eyes are on him. He's the vocal leader for the first time.
Yeah, he's been called by the media, our local media, our Tallahassee media mainly, to be a Heisman candidate. That goes on his shoulders.
Yeah,
we can sit here. He's in front of 70,000 people under the lights being scrutinized on. He has to make decisions in 2 to 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's hard shit. But okay.
There's a lot of players in that position too. That's what I'm saying. Is that I hope he grows from this situation because he's going to have bad games. He's going to have worse games.
I think he grow from. I think he was just frustrated. He's not frustrated with Norvell. He's not frustrated with the team. He's not frustrated with the call. I think it was just frustration coming out. And you want Did you see Tom Brady get frustrated? Guy's been around in the league for 25 years. He took the damn notepad, the things they use on the sideline, the computers, and threw them, broke them. Yeah. When you're competitive, it will come out in different ways.
No, absolutely. But the only thing, and I don't want to linger on this because I think it's hopefully not an issue. But then you see,
but it brought up. It came up this week.
I'm glad it did. And then the follow-up drive, though, you see the other interception. So. I don't think they're interrelated. I think once again he was trying to make a big play and it happened. I don't think they're interrelated. I think he was leading that drive. He led the drive down to the right play, and it was just a misplay. So no, I think like you said, he's under a lot of pressure. He learns from that situation. He's under the spotlight really for the first time, and you're under you're pressing. You're trying to make a big play, and you made a mistake, and all the cameras are on you.
You know what? I'm going to say this, and it's, maybe everybody already knows it, but it is. They have made football has become so complicated now in schemes and plays and who goes where. A lot of times you see the quarterback. He's got all the pages like I do, notes everywhere. He's like that. I mean, my notes get so complicated. I don't even know what I have. I mean, it gets crazy. It absolutely gets crazy at times. And these kids are expected to learn all this. And luckily, he's had the same offense now for what, 2 years now?
Yeah.
He's had to go through a COVID. It's not easy. It's not easy. Yeah. He's a good kid. He's done a lot. He's done a lot for this football team.
Yeah, agreed.
He's done a lot for the football team. But I've heard a couple of media people suggest that he might. I don't like his attitude a little bit. Really? Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, I hope, like I said, I think we all hope that he can lead this offense back next week or this weekend.
Tough
They got
challenge.
sync. So
Tough
once
challenge.
again, yeah, we knew it was going to be these 3 weeks were going to be tough, but I hope they can get back in sync. They can scheme it up, and then they can bounce back because they got to show they can do it against the top teams, or it's just an aberration because it's going to be tough the last 6, 7
but
weeks.
this isn't the only tough team.
That's what I'm saying. They got to show they can do it against the better teams, not just Duquesne and Boston College.
Right.
So, all right. Well, I think that's going to do it. Anything else that you want to wrap up with?
No, that's it. That's
all
it.
Right. Well, yeah. So, like we said, after the game, maybe around 11:30 on Saturday, we'll have our live reaction show. So be sure to look out for that.
Those are the best.
We have to make sure you have the notification button on so you get the live raw reaction to the game. Hopefully, it's a close game. So there'll always be some sort of rant. But
we're gonna go get those.
We'll post that this week so you can click a notification. So whenever we go live, you can click in from wherever you are and listen to us. And until then, stay safe. Have a great week, and we'll see you on Saturday. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye. Stay safe out there.